Hello everybody and welcome to another ultimate guide for Diablo 2. So I did a Frenzy Barbarian guide before for this character, but now I remade it to a whirlwind and I thought why not show it. I've really been trying to comply the things that you comment about the Frenzy build and then put it over to this specific build now. So let's start off with some gameplay first, because I want to do a bit of a gameplay first so we can kind of just get that out of the way. Yeah, just quickly show a bit of, and then let's go for it. So I'm just gonna be doing a bit of a BAAL now, talking a bit about BAAL, going up to him and whatnot. The Frenzy Barbarian guide that I did kills BAAL in about 25 seconds. That is not really fast at all, so let's see if I could perhaps be faster on my whirlwind, because I do want to compare the two builds. Like, should you play Frenzy or whirlwind? It's kind of like a hard question, because there are other builds for Barbarian as well, Barbarian, but those builds suck. So the most common build besides whirlwind and Frenzy is called double throw, so that is a throw barbarian. There are also builds that uses war cry and kind of just runs around stunning mobs. Those builds are kind of niche and not that good, at least not for the equipment they do cost and whatnot. But yeah, overall it's pretty much just either whirlwind or Frenzy you want to go with. So let's see a little thing here. Just gotta check out some stats before we're gonna go. Nope. I think I just want to do a bit of a rebuff, because I did forget about that for some time now. Okay, so let's try to get a little bit serious about this. Now the idea is how whirlwind works. You pretty much just do one click and then the character moves to where you clicked. And as soon as the character stops moving, you just click again. It's an easy rotation, there's nothing really to think about there. The only problem is that if you fuck it up, the mana leech is pretty horrible. You can get into a position like now where I don't have any mana easily on a pull, even though I use only one or two clicks. Another fun thing is if a character teleports away, the animation continues going towards the mob. So I can actually just click on BAAL, and the whirlwind animation will follow him if he teleports away, which is kind of cool. But as you can see now, the 25 seconds are definitely up. So we can conclude right now that Frenzy is overall more damage on single target. If it's more damage on AoE, I don't think so, because Frenzy is purely single target damage. There's also some other things I want to address a little more in later on, but for now, let's get to the real guide. I wanted to show some gameplay first, because usually I keep the gameplay to a later part, but I wanted to do something a little different. So yeah, let's just start with stats and whatnot. You basically just need enough strength and dexterity for your weapons. So in my case that is 138 dexterity, no 136 strength and 136 dexterity. My stats are a little stupid right now, but 136 is what I went with in each of these, and then just max and vitality. You can easily get capped resistance with the current gear that I use, even with only a few resistance, small charms. So cap resistance is really easy to get. You're gonna get a massive amount of defense and insanity life, which you do need to survive probably. So that's really needed anyways. Yeah, I think that's pretty much for the stats. So let's just go over the build. Bash, stun, concentrate. These are all just pre-fillers. You can't really use them in any ways. I would never really consider use them. Berserk, I put the rest of my remaining points into Berserk. Initially I only wanted, you know, a few points in this or max it, but I went with only a few points, and that's how it works out pretty well for me. This is only for pretty much single target or physical immunes, but I don't really need it for physical immunes anyways, cause my Merc kills physical immunes fast, which I will talk about in a bit. Leap, you could go with either leap attack or leap. This would actually be a viable thing to max out if you didn't want extra survival, which I will talk about in a little bit. But overall, you pretty much just want to bind one of these. I just want the leap because I like to have some ways to get out of a dangerous situation. And then of course you max whirlwind. Obviously, you also max in combat mastery. You also max sword mastery, whatever your weapon choices. Here, there's a little thing you can always try to remember here with the increased speed, and that is, say you have a small chant that gives 3% run speed in your inventory. Try to match that up so you will reach the next breakpoint like 35, 40, 45, 50, and so on. Right now my skills are pretty good. Just one skill in it gives me 35, so that is perfect. Then I just took 1 point into natural resistance and iron skin. Gonna comment a little about iron skin now. So iron gives 10% defense rating in percent, and that is the same amount as battle orders gives. No, what's it called? Yes, shout gives. So I would not put more points into iron skin than just once, cause shout gives the same amount for the same skillers. Okay, so war cries. Nothing in this line here. I took 1 point into howl and then just taunt and battle cry, which I did bind. So I use battle cry sometimes, which is kinda nice enough if you want extra damage. I should probably use that on BAAL from the start when I pulled him. Okay, shout. You're gonna max shout, and why? That's just what else are you gonna spend your skillers on? This gives me a massive amount of defense. If I choose to not max shout, I would put rest of the points into berserk, or even put points into leap attack, or maybe more run speed, or more defense. Probably I would just go with defense, but overall I like to max shout, which is a cool little thing to do so you get more survival. And obviously you max battle orders and then 1 point into battle command. And that's pretty much it for the build. So let's go over the gear. So there's gonna be some controversial choices here, but I took all the feedback that I got from my frenzy guide you commented about and kind of put it into this build here. Lava Gout. I have never used these gloves before, so why would I use them now? So let's go to my stash. So as you can see here, these are the two most common choices for Whirlwind Barbarian. Everyone uses these, but it's actually wrong to use either of them. So I will explain this now. DRACULS, you see the first line, 5% chance to cast level 10 life tap on striking. That sounds amazing. Why don't you use it? Here's the thing. On striking doesn't work for Whirlwind. That's just too bad. It's unfortunate, but that is the truth. You're never gonna get DRACULS to proc with Whirlwind, so it's pretty much useless for Whirlwind. I don't need the life leech. The life leech 10% is okay. I could go with it, but it doesn't really help that much. The chance to open wounds, again, it's not gonna help a lot on damage. 50 to strain is not gonna help too much. It's kinda nice, you know, you get more vitality, but again, it's also minor. And 8 life after each kill I don't care for at all. These gloves are amazing if you're just gonna run in specific areas where there are only demons, and maybe if you needed a lot of fire resist, but that's pretty much it. So I guess this would be a good choice if you were only gonna run chaos runs. So why did I choose these gloves here? Well, I wanted a massive amount of attack rating, and the first line here, 2% chance to cast level 10 enchant on striking. It does not work with Whirlwind, but see it as a pre-buff, so before I get serious about my gameplay, I would make my gloves proc. So I would have like 1,000 more attack rating. I think it's up to 2,000 with certain gear and whatnot. It would immensely help on my attack rating. Uh, the fire damage is pretty much useless, but it has a lot of defense, which is pretty nice. Battle gauntlets are pretty high tier gloves, so they come with quite a bit of defense. Then they even have half freeze duration, which is useful if I didn't use a Ravenfrost ring. But if I didn't want to use a Ravenfrost ring, these would actually be a really good thing to just remove a bit of freeze, and then fire resist, which is kinda useless in my situation, but it's always okay. Okay, so gloves out of the way. Let's go on with the jewelry. So I went with full out attack rating as I mentioned it, and that is why I'm going with an angelic setup. Most melee builds all use high lords or certain amulets like that. I don't really need the damage stats from Highlord's amulet. So Highlord's gives deadly strike, but I already get a lot of deadly strike from my weapon. So I thought, nah, I'll pass on it and then go with as much as attack rating as possible. Right now I don't have the gloves progged, but I can show you my hit rating against BAAL and why you should really value attack rating. So as you can see, Whirlwind is only 75% hit chance against BAAL. That's really not high. And normal mobs in Act 5 are over 90% and even 95 when my gloves are progged. But as soon as I hit a boss, this drops way down to 75%, and that is why I want as much attack rating as possible, and that is why I went with a Ravenfrost even, cause Ravenfrost gets a huge bonus to attack rating, and that is multiplied by these gloves here, and I think some other ways you can perhaps multiply it, but basically enchant is amazing. Yeah, Ravenfrost is also really good for dexterity because you get more life. Grief requires 136 dexterity, and Ravenfrost helps on that. But the rest of the stats are pretty much useless. Cannot be frozen is obviously goodly, but yeah, it's okay. And a bit of controversial again. Stupid bug build. Oh, people hate me for using this, but I will say that this build in my current gear cannot work without this, and that is due to mana leech. I need a source of mana leech. If I didn't have this build, I would have to use Vampire's Braces, which is a pair of gloves that have mana leech and life leech. But with those gloves, or a mana leech ring, say a ring that looks like this ring here, but just has mana leech on it, it would be totally fine. The other stats that this overpowered belt has, yeah, it's pretty goodly as well, but it's mostly just for the mana leech this build is good for. Another choice is String Arrears if you can't get a secret build, because this is only on non-letter Europe. String Arrears, um, the what's it called? The magic damage reduced by 14. You should not undervalue that percent at all. And damage reduced by 15% is always good. But those two stats at the bottom there are really, really excellent. I should also comment a little about the defense, because it actually has quite a bit of defense, especially if you get this as an upgraded version. But 8% leech is obviously very good, but this is mostly for a frenzy build. Vadungo's belt is only for PvP pretty much. Okay, so let's go with the boots. The boots, there's a few choices here, but overall Gore Riders wins due to Deadly Strike and Crushing Blow. And it is even better if you don't have Death, which I will talk a bit about in a bit. Fortitude, honestly, again, this is a personal choice. I don't like to use Enigma on a Barbarian because he has such a low mana pool, so teleport would suck regardless. And if I needed to use teleport speed, I would have to sacrifice my switch, so I would get less of a bow, and I just don't really like to use teleport on a melee character for some reason. So I went with a really good fortitude here, Archon plate, nice defense, good stats, and all that Awesome stuff. Especially the chilling armor proc is fun because you get a lot of defense from that when you already get a lot of defense from your normal equipment and whatnot, so that is another multiplier there. Ariad's face, I should talk a bit about this one. So on my frenzy guide I use Gulliams. Why do I use Gulliams over Ariads but not Gulliams on this specific build? Well, for this build I feel like I wanted to do a bit of a different thing, and one of those was attack rating. And look at the fourth line in this, 20% bonus to attack rating. That's amazing. I'm just gonna show how much attack rating that gives right now. So you can see I have 10,000 now, and with it 8,700. This helm gives me so much attack rating, along with some other okay stats. I don't really need these other stats that much. It's pretty much purely survival and some damage, but the bonus to attack rating is amazing. Ideally, I could get this one as an upgraded. I don't want it as an Eve. Eve is useless. That is mostly for PvP. But if you could get this as an upgraded perfect, that would be pretty sweet because you just get more defense, like 100 more defense. But yeah, I think that was pretty much it for the normal gear. So weapons now. This is always the really controversial part. So I went with a faceplate and a Colossus sword. Why did I not just go with Circular Axes? Well, Circular Axes sucks in PvM cause of the repair. So if you play for, say, I don't know, 5 BAAL runs. Say you do 5 BAAL runs, you pretty much have to pay like 200,000 gold or something ridiculous like that. So I don't want to have to deal with the repair cost. Circular Axes, I think they do a little tiny bit of more damage, and they also have +1 range, which is kind of a nice thing. More range is it's useless for PvM. It's pretty much just a PvP thing as well, and that is why I just went with 2 swords. Ideally, if I could get Deadly Strike and Crushing Blow um, from, say, if I was not using Ariad's face, and I was using Gulliam's face, so I can get more Deadly Strike and Crushing Blow, I would probably just use 2 Greaves instead of Death. But since I want to use Ariads for this specific build, I will be lacking in Deadly Strike and Crushing Blow, and that is why I'm using Death together with Grief. Normally people who dual wield swords as a whirlwind barbarian all say that 2 Greaves are the best, and I agree completely on that, until you start looking at this amazing rune word. So let's just start from the top. 25% cast glacial spike on attack. It's actually quite a bit of damage. The enhanced damage is amazing on this one. 20% bonus to attack rating. What? It's so good. 53% attack rating. Lightning damage. Mana stolen by hit. So mana leech is not even needed on this build, but like 5% would be too little, or 7% would be too little for me. So yeah, amazing. 50% chance of crushing blow. This weapon never stops. 43% deadly strike based on character level. Light radius. No. This weapon together with Grief just gives me every stat that I could possibly want, and that is why I do not go with a dual wield Grief. Obviously, in a perfect world where I had enough Deadly Strike and Crushing Blow from other sources, 2 Griefs would be better, but yeah. I also want to talk a little bit quickly here. Attack speeds matter a lot because you're gonna be attacking very fast with a faceplate. I can't quite remember the breakpoints for death. Uh, I'm pretty sure I did make it correct when I uploaded my frenzy guide, but I think the breakpoint was a little slower for a Colossus sword than a faceplate. But a faceplate pretty much, any gear would make the max attack rating breakpoint even. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the gear. So let's talk a bit about the inventory. In a perfect world where I had, say, 2000 FG to spend, or if you're not on GSP and you don't know what FG is, that would be let's see, how many high runes would that be? That would be like 1000 high runes or something like that. I would have a complete inventory full of free 2020 small charms. Why free 2020s? Well, they give me attack rating, they give me life, and they give me damage. The three most important stats that I need. I don't need poison damage. I don't need all resist, or strength, or other kinds of resist. Really just useless. And Warcry plus skillers are also really crap. They're not really good. They're gonna help a lot on survival, obviously, but free 2020s would be a so much better choice. But the sad truth, I just can't afford it. I will never be able to afford it, cause those small charms themselves, they cost like one small charm, if it's legit and like for real, no bug or anything, it could cost as much as, well, the entire gear of my Barbarian currently. One free 2020 is probably the price of yeah. So I just can't afford it, sadly. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the gear. So I want to talk a bit about Frenzy versus Whirlwind. Let's do some gameplay while I do talk about this, cause else it gets a little too boring, I guess. Oh yeah, for the gameplay I should actually get my Merc back as well now. Oh yeah, Kane doesn't resurrect. I always go to Kane to resurrect my Merc. It's so stupid. So, I've actually forgot to talk a bit about the Merc as well. He's obviously using Reaver's Toll, Treasury and GULLI HELM. Honestly, you're never gonna find a better setup for melee builds, and that is just due to the proc is totally overpowered on melee characters. You could go with Pride Rune Red, but I really would not. This is just the superior choice. But yeah, let's move on with the gameplay and a bit of a talk now. Whirlwind vs Frenzy. That is probably the reason why most of you even clicked on this, cause gear and guide is maybe not that interesting. So for me to really feel like a specific build is good, I have to do AoE, and Frenzy has pretty much no AoE at all. Whirlwind starts to have AoE. It's not a huge amount, but it starts to be pretty good. Like you can see that I one-shot fallen mobs. I can even one-shot this fallen shaman. It starts to get good. The problem with Whirlwind is that the range is just not that big. I mean, I can pretty much, like, only if the mobs are in, like, if the mobs are in my melee range, you know, I'm gonna hit it, and that is just too short. If Whirlwind had, you know, a bigger radius, it would be much better. Another thing that I also really hate, which I also did talk about on BAAL, is that the so I want to burn my mana a bit now here. Probably can't even get to do that. Okay, but basically if I get mana burnt on the pull, so say I get hit by this mob here and I get mana burnt, then I don't have enough mana to start my Whirlwind, you know, the first initial cast. And that is a situation you will see so many times, and that is why I hate Whirlwind Barbarians pretty much. Those two choices, things there, a lack of radius and mana burn problems. Those are the two most annoying things to me. Frenzy. So Frenzy has an almost too hectic gameplay for me. I don't know if I'm just getting old or whatever, but running so fast that I can't even, you know, nearly control the mouse cursor, that is gets a little tiring at some point. I guess if you are running through content with no Enigma, Frenzy would be a pretty good thing there. I also want to mention again, highlight that Frenzy does kill faster than Whirlwind on single target. Another really important thing also is that Frenzy can actually do hard content such as Ubers. Whirlwind could never do Ubers because they don't have a way to proc the cool gloves. They could perhaps make it with a life tap wand, but who wants to use a switch life tap wand? That's such an annoying thing. But on striking it should work for Frenzy. I actually forgot if it did. No, it did work for Frenzy. So Frenzy, you know, more single target damage, uh, more run speed to do specific run. Like say if you were magic finding on your Barbarian, I would probably go with Frenzy just because you can run to the magic find hotspots faster. And then obviously the single target and being able to do really hard content like Ubers. Another thing I also want to talk a little about here at the end is that it's really easy to have gear for both. So the only thing that I switched out for the Frenzy guide was pretty much my helm and my gloves, and the rest of the gear is pretty much just the same items. So if you were switching between the builds, you could fast do that with the same gear that you use for Whirlwind, which is a nice little thing to remember, that it doesn't have to be, you know, you only place one spec on one character. You can have gear for both, and in this case it's actually very easy to have gear for both characters. But yeah, I think that was pretty much it for the ultimate guide for my Whirlwind Barbarian vs Frenzy. I hope you enjoyed this little guide here. As always, comment away if you have any questions at all. I would be happy to get into a nerdy discussion about it, about the things that I maybe did wrong in this guide. If you have any critiques and whatnot. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe, and if you want to, and have a good one, and goodbye.